right, welcome to Knowledge Lane. So the topic I want to cover today is, we're gonna talk about base currency versus quote currency, direct versus indirect quote, and also just gonna wrap it up with how to calculate the cross rate between, the two currencies where we don't have active quotes available. All right, so without further ado, let's get started. So base currency versus quote currency. So here's an example. So here we have a quote between EUR and USD equals to 1.10. So EUR, the currency on the numerator, is the base currency, while USD in the denominator is our quote currency, also called the price currency. Okay, so EUR over USD can also be written as EUR slash USD, which is equals to 1.10. It's the same thing. It's just different way of writing, or just like more of a stylistic approach. I personally find EUR over USD just easy to understand. Okay. So if we have 2, which is also equals to 2 over 1, so if we have 1.10, it's 1 understood, right? So 1.10 over 1 is understood. Now, if we have EUR over USD, which is equals to 1.10, can also be written as EUR over USD equals to 1.10 over 1. So, in other words, we have 1 EUR or 1 euro equals to 1.10 US dollar. Okay, so think of base currency as 1 unit. So EUR just consider as a unit. So to buy 1 euro, you will need to sell 1.10 US dollar. Okay, so that's how you read it. And we can look into an example here. So let's say John has a clothing store in the United States. Amy is a supplier of raw materials to John, and then Amy is a supplier who is living in, let's say, Europe, right? So Amy sends John an invoice of, let's say, 3,000 euros. So they might have a contract where Amy has asked John to send payment in euros. So John just go online and check what the rates are, and he finds that the current rate between euro and USD is 1.10. So he would need to convert US dollar to euros, right? So he's a US, he has a clothing store in the US, so he has income in US dollars. Just want to convert that to euros. So in order to do 3,000 euros, it will be equals to 3,300 USD. Okay. Now let's talk more about the direct versus indirect quote. So again, just to kind of reiterate, if we have EUR over USD, the currency on the top is the base currency, and then the currency in the bottom or in the denominator is our quote currency. Okay. So for a US based investor, so let's say we have John, he is an investor in the United States. So for John, the domestic currency will be the US dollars, right? For John, the foreign currency will be euro. Okay, so for a US based investor like John, the direct quote will be EUR over USD. So USD will be our quote currency in the denominator, which is our domestic currency as well, right? Which is equals to 1.10, which also implies 1 euro equals to 1.10 US dollar. Now, it's easy to remember, and if you have a hard time remembering, so you can use DDD, meaning domestic currency in denominator. So domestic currency in denominator means it's a direct quote. So for John, the domestic currency is USD. So USD in the denominator, meaning it's going to be a direct quote. And for John, the indirect quote will be USD over EUR, which will be 0.91, right? So we have 1 euro equals to 1.10 USD, then 1 USD will equals to 0.91 euro. And to remember that, we have so domestic currency, which is USD, in numerator is an indirect quote. Okay. So just to summarize, if we have a direct quote, the meaning will be 1 unit of foreign currency. So one unit of foreign currency, which is EUR, in terms of domestic currency. Okay. And then when we have an indirect quote, it means 1 unit of domestic currency, which is USD. So 1 USD in terms of the foreign currency. All right, so that's just some brief understanding about direct and indirect quote, and we can move on to the cross rates. So the cross rate is nothing but an exchange rate between two currencies that are not directly quoted against each other, right? But they're both quoted against a third common currency, usually USD or Euro, etc. So here we have an example from CFA curriculum. We have given some currency information. We have 3 currency: USD, EUR, CHF, even 4 currencies, right? So, and then we have their spot rates. So what happens is, so CHF, let's say, so Swiss franc and USD. So there is active trade market, foreign exchange market between CHF and USD. There is also an active foreign exchange market between JPY and USD. So Japanese yen and USD, there is active foreign exchange market, but we don't have a active market between CHF and JPY, or there is an inactive market. So if we go online, try to find the quote, we don't have a recent quote available because of inactive market there. Okay, so we use the common currency between CHF and JPY, which is USD, to find the quote for the cross rate for CHF and JPY. So let's go through a few examples, so things gonna make it more clear. So let's say we need to find the spot rate, CHF EUR. So what's the cross rate between CHF and EUR based on the information given here? Okay. So here are the steps. So the first step will be to find a common currency between CHF and EUR. So we have CHF and USD, and then we have EUR and USD. So we can use these two to find the cross rate between CHF and EUR. Okay. Now, check numerators and denominators. So that will be the step number 2. So for the spot rate, CHF and EUR, we have CHF in numerator. So whenever we have our pairs for those currency, we want to make sure the CHF, it's in the numerator, and then we want to make sure the EUR is in the denominator. So we have CHF USD. So we have CHF and USD, and then we have USD and EUR. So EUR is in denominator, and then we have USD and EUR. So we can move forward with the calculation. So CHF over USD times USD over EUR, which is just going to be a cross multiplication. So USD will cancel out, and then CHF over EUR will equal to 1.1584. This is pretty straightforward. Sometimes we don't have the currency with the correct numerators or denominators, so we just need to just convert them into kind of an direct quote. All right, so here in this second example, we have a spot rate that we're looking to find between GBP, Great British Pound, and Euro. So that's going to be a cross rate. So let's first find out a common currency between GBP and EUR. And again, that's going to be, we have USD and GBP. And for Euro, we have USD and Euro, right? So we have a common currency, USD, EUR. and then USD and GBP. Now, the second step will be to check for numerators and denominators. So GBP is in numerator, okay? Now, the information we have here is USD over GBP. So GBP is in numerator. The given information has USD over GBP, where GBP is in denominator. So we just want to, flip those, and then we can calculate GBP over USD, which is going to be 0.7623. And then we have EUR in denominator. It's already given USD over EUR, so we are good there. And then we can just cross multiply, and then we'll get 0.8920. Okay, and we can also look into one more example here. Let's see here. So we have CNY HKD, CNY ZAR, and then CNY SEK. So we need to find a spot rate between ZAR and HKD. It's going to be the cross rate, right? So we don't have the direct quote available. All right, so again, first find the common currency between these two, and there's nothing but the CNY this time. So again, the step number 2 will be check for numerators and denominators. So we need ZAR in the numerator. We have CNY over ZAR available, but ZAR is in denominator, so we just want to convert that into the numerator. It's going to be ZAR over CNY. We can just flip 1 divided by 0.9149, which will give 1.0930. So we have that. And then we need HKD in denominator. So we have CNY over HKD. So we are good to go here. And then we can just cross multiply CNY over HKD times ZAR over CNY. CNY cancels out. And then we have 0.9205. So, that's about it for today. I hope you find the content useful. Let me know your thoughts or questions in the comment section below, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.